All right, Shaggy. So the Colorado Avalanche, their backs are up against the wall. What is this team made of? We are going to find out because the Avalanche, their season's on the line. They are down 3-2 in the series against the Kraken. Game 6, not going to be easy in Seattle. A lot to get to with this recent loss. New episode Locked on Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked on Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked on Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. All right, sir. Yeah, this is a situation that the Avalanche have not been in a couple years, obviously, since you win the cup last year, but you never had this situation where you were on the verge of elimination, and you are now. And number one, you see what you're made of, and we will find out. We're going to find out in a couple of days, but right now, the Avalanche clearly are not the better team, and for me, it makes it a little bit easier to digest, believe it or not. Like if the Avalanche were the better team, going out there day in and day out, or game in and game out, and because of whatever puck luck, all the things that you can throw as to why hockey is a fluky game. That's not happening. The Kraken are playing a better game from beginning to end, and there's no doubt about that. And I see a lot of comments online and on Twitter and stuff like that, people saying like, well, the effort's not there. I don't agree with that. I think the effort is there for the Avalanche. It's just the team that they have right now, the team that they are putting out on the ice is just not as good as Seattle. That's the long and the short of it for me.
It's such a weird thing to watch for this team to put up such a valiant effort to win the Central and to go on such an impressive run and then hit the playoffs and be a steaming wet fart. I mean, this team, when it comes to the effort, I know it's there, but there's puck chasing and just bad passing and bad zone entries and zone exits. And yes, if you look at the stats, everything looks nice and it's all even. Everything looks great. Nobody capitalized on the power play. The shots are almost even. The shot quality was so abysmal tonight. I was very upset. As soon as you cross that blue line, you take a shot. Let me let you in on a little secret. That is Philipp Grubauer. You make him move, you have a wide open cage. An additional pass is how you do it. You're not going to break him by just firing it off and playing catch with him. This is not the end of Field of Dreams. We're not having a catch. We're trying to win a hockey game. And as soon as you get over that blue line and you fire it right into that Kraken logo, even though it's awesome, you don't need to be firing it there every time. And that's what it was. And it got to the point, like, I poked my eye with a pencil. I was getting so frustrated with this game. I was sat here, watched the game muted. I had this pencil right here, just kind of thumping it. And there was one shot that was just so bad. It was one of Nathan McKinnon's no-look, patented razzle-dazzle shots where he wasn't looking, and it went right into Grubauer's, right into his chest. And I did a little thump, got the retaliation, poked me in the eye, and then my frustration just went through the roof. Yeah. So it's terrible.
They're not making Grubauer work for it. Like, they're definitely not doing that. And I think a lot of that is you're not getting a lot of push and a lot of pressure from anything other than the names that like the big name, other than name.
Yeah, and I like that you bring up like the names that point. Even though the score was settled up like 3-2, and one of those is Nathan McKinnon, that was an ugly second goal. Like to say, hey, we at least got a goal from Nathan McKinnon. If all you're looking at is the box score, go look at that goal. That was abysmal.
I mean, it was just luck, and at that point, you need that. Like you really have nothing else for the Avalanche other than saying, like, we need something to go in, and that's how it goes in. So that didn't like surprise me because you weren't getting it. You weren't making Grubauer work for it. And you don't have the guy, you don't have the depth of lines to roll out to constantly put that pressure. It's like when you have your top guys out there, then everybody on Seattle takes notice, right? And then when the bottom six goes out there, it's like, this is where we can rest up and take our break because they're not really going to do much. And under normal circumstances, if you had your healthy roster, this is stuff we've been saying all year, but you can't use that as an excuse because you won the Central that way. And this is why the playoffs is a different animal. Like you can, I am very impressed that the Avalanche won the Central, right?
Yeah.
With the injuries that they had, they overcame all that stuff. But when you get in the playoffs, it's like it's very difficult to continue that style of play and winning games like that because it's going to get exploited. And I think it's happening right now with Colorado. It is happening right now. I don't think it. I know it. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the series score and just what you see on the ice. 3-2. As far as the score in this game, didn't even feel like that.
No,
did not even feel like that. And you get one late, so you're always in it, and give them a pat on the back for that. But it was a challenge to get to that point. And man, whenever you have an opportunity that goes away, in your head, you're just like, might be 6 or 7 game minutes before we get another opportunity like that.
And it's really bad because you're getting your production from Mikko and Nate. That's it. And the everydayers that listen all season long, they know we've been hyping up the appearance of playoff JT Compher. He hasn't shown up. New Hook is flailing on the fourth line. Like, we have seen 0 from him. We saw a little flash of Mulligan. That's it.
A little bit. Yeah.
Lehkonen, he looked okay the beginning of the playoffs. He's also disappeared. There's a phantom zone when it comes to the depth and production. And Manson has become a liability. His minutes were greatly reduced tonight.
But he wasn't even on the bench in the third. So if you're pulled, you're not. You're just going to sit on the bench and watch the game. So the fact that he was not on the bench, from my understanding, that he wasn't on the bench. So there's an injury somewhere with him. So he might not be back, and you might have either Curtis McDermott or Hunt coming back.
When we get to it in the next segment, when we really break down the stats and everything, the minutes are starting to get reduced, and it's bad because your top line is the only thing producing, and if you're cutting off your fourth line and your depth guys, that middle's got to start doing something, and you're giving them more ice time and more opportunity, and it feels like less and less is coming out of the depth scorers.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that stuff. Why don't we take our first break? We'll hear from Built Bar, and then we'll get to some stats and more on this game. Obviously, how Georgiev played, and where do the Avs go from here? And obviously our sound check we'll get to as well. But first, Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all of the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever, literally ever. And that's Built Bars. You got to try them. If you're like myself, and of course, if you're like Kyle, and you want to make healthier snack choices but don't want to compromise on taste, we have just the amazing thing for you: Built Bars and Built Bar Puffs. I'm the Built Bar guy, and Kyle is the puff guy.
That's right. Shaggy Von Puff.
And what makes the Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, 100% real chocolate, and they come in unbelievably delicious flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream. I'm on their website right now. They have a couple limited edition flavors like the coconut brownie strip bar and the cookie dough strip bar. So these are your regular Built bars with a strip of cookie dough or a strip of brownie down the top.
Magic
on
in a wrapper.
Come on now. So, and you don't need to wait right now. For those, you got to order online. But if you want to get some delicious Built bars right now, you can go to your local Walmart or Sam's Club and get the specialty flavors at built.com. So make sure you go there. You can use that promo code LOCKED15 over at built.com. Get in on the Built Bar craze. All right, so some stats here and just more goings on with this game. I if you're following on Twitter, and I do most of the tweeting from the show's account, not very happy with the refs, and I'm not gonna, we just spent a whole segment of the show praising Seattle and saying like Seattle beat you, right? I thought the refs had a horrendous game. And culminating with the Nathan McKinnon no call, where McKinnon he does this when things don't go his way. He gets frustrated. I understand it. Smacks his stick up against the glass, and the Kraken go the other way and score a goal. Now, when the difference in the final score is 1 goal, I know a lot of people who like to jump on the refs and slowly blame them are not going to be happy about that. Yeah. But I get it. Like that was not, or that was a bad missed call. The call on the first call that was on Jack Johnson, I didn't like that call either. It's 2 guys skating. Johnson's going to a point on the ice, and I can't remember who it was that was kind of skating in his direction, and they just kind of collide. And whoever it was on Seattle was trying to avoid Jack Johnson, and in avoiding him, he falls down. There was minimal contact, and they called interference on it. The Avs killed it off, but I just thought, like, man, that's not a good. I thought that was a bad penalty. I just thought they had a really rough day early on. I think it smoothed out as the game went on. And I'm not the guy to sit here and say, like, the refs decide the game. They'll decide a play here and there, but over the course of the game, it's up to the team. You know what I mean? Like they're not calling 60 minutes of terrible calls, right? 1,000%. But a couple of them, you just have to sit there and be like, man, like that's a power play. That's that is a power play where the Avs haven't been great on it, but you never know when you have it. So it was.
I've never been one to sit there and blame a game pro or anti-referee. You got to consider, like, the referees are just as much a part as the ice, as like the boards. If the boards are bouncy or if they're not reacting, that's just part of the game. If the ice conditions, that's just part of the game. And how the refs call the game is part of the game. Like the Boston Florida game, you could you could chalk that up, the boards giving up that overtime goal, and you could complain about that all day long, but it's one of those, you never put yourself in those situations for one individual moment to affect the game. And Nathan McKinnon to react that way, if calls aren't going your way, you just internalize it and you just keep going. It's just something you got to overcome. But for Nathan McKinnon to react that way in that moment, we talk about all the time, you always have this confidence in the Avs. That's when mine started to dwindle, watching Nathan McKinnon react, slash his stick against the glass, and then watch a goal go in. I was like, this team is toast tonight.
I get mad, but wait until the play is dead.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you that all happened while the play was obviously still going on, and now he's trailing the play. Get up, go play. Like you can go palms up and look at the ref, be like, what the hell? Like while you're still playing, and then when the play is blown dead, whenever it's blown dead, then you can kind of go back and maybe give it a little bit extra. So he has Peter Ball put up a quote from McKinnon. Says, I get 5 feet on a guy and he takes my feet out. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's not 1975. I feel like that's a trip. He also added he has to keep his cool more. And he
Mhm.
says, quote, "It's on me there." So, and he'll do that. Like he'll look back and say, like, "Oh, that's my fault." But the damage is done at this
Yeah.
point.
And
So,
there was a good chunk of the second half of the second period where there were 3 to 4 Colorado Avalanche playing their defensive position, Nathan McKinnon included,
mhm.
that looked like they were holding down the shoulder button if you're playing NHL and you're doing your swim move with a stick. Like there was such
Yeah.
the sticks were just out and moving. There was no proper body positioning. And I
Right.
was like, this is one of those things that Seattle could skate into and draw a penalty because there was a lot of swimming sticks and just bad positioning. And I knew that was coming. And when Nathan didn't get that call, I was like, here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Josh Manson, again, this is Peter Baugh. Josh Manson missed the end of the game with, quote, a continuation of his previous injury. Jared Bednar said, didn't feel good enough to continue playing. He doesn't have an update for his game 6 status. I take that as he's out.
Yep.
I just do. We've kind of been through this before with everybody. And I don't know. I just feel like who has taken a game off and then come right back this entire season? So I'm not breaking anything here. Just my personal feeling is you don't have Josh Manson for game 6 would be my guess. So
Have we had him all series is the question.
It's tough. I mean, his he doesn't have speed, right? So that's not his game. So you just want him to play solid defense, have good outlet passes, get the puck out of the zone, hit a guy if he needs to be hit. And he just seems to be so much slower than everybody else on the ice, and just it seems like everybody. It's almost like he's like a 40-year-old veteran out there, right? And everybody else is just passing him by. At least for this game, I thought this was one of the worst passing games that the Avalanche had across the board, and they continued to do the the zone entry and then kind of like drop it back pass or try to make that. And the Kraken were getting in the way of all of them.
Yep.
Every single one of them. And that's on them. Like that's good defensive strategy. Again, how many blocks did they have? I don't know if
I love that you bring that up because they would do that, and then the next entry they would take it and then rim it around, and there would always be a Seattle Kraken member sitting right there and then clear it up. It was amazing.
They just seem to get in every shooting lane. Nothing gets through. And that just makes it easier for Grubauer. Like he just didn't feel like he had to work all that much, even though the Avs kind of evened it up with the shots on goal. It was 29-28 in favor of Seattle. And again, this was playing catch up. And with the shots on goal, you're playing catch up. But let me see, 3 high danger chances for the Avs. How many? So 33 low danger shot attempts, 4 medium and 3 high for the Avs. So none of it seemed like that, man.
No,
none of it. And again, like you need to make them work. It's tough. It's easier said than done. Seattle's doing a very good job of doing everything right defensively and offensively. They're beating the Avs to the puck. Like their speed is on display, and what the Avalanche are missing right now in terms of injuries, that is a glaring hole right now. And it's another thing a lot of people are saying online is, the Avs need to go out and get depth. No, the Avs need to go out and get healthy.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. And but you have to play with what you have.
Exactly. Where are you going to get depth? It's the playoffs. You have your back
not.
against the wall. You're not going to get it right now.
No, you're not. You gotta use what you have. So I don't know. I want to talk about Georgiev. We're talking about Grubauer a lot. Let's talk about Georgiev and what can we do for game 6? Because it's not like right now, like we're recording this minutes after the game is over. So it sucks right now, right? But it's not over yet. It's not over. I know a lot of fans maybe feel that way with just the way that this series has gone and Seattle being in control for most of it. But getting Cale Makar back helps. It should help. I'll say that. It should help. So Let's hear from eBay Motors and then get into that. All right. So for championship teams, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop on eBay Motors, they have over 122 million parts to choose from, and you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions apply. All right, so Georgiev, fantastic first, right? I would think like he played great over the course of this. He's maybe been one of the shining stars for the Avalanche for this entire series. I thought he played a great game. You held them to nothing in the first, and how this whole series has been going, you're giving up goals early on. Now, you did give up the first goal yet again, which is every single game so far in this series, but I thought he was great. I thought he was dominant in the first. And part of me was like, let's get that.
Yeah.
We need that. We clearly need that. And is this going to be one of those games where if we just get one goal and then Alexander Georgiev just does his thing? Again, that's easier said than done when the team that you're playing is just a step faster and better than you right now. But I thought overall, he again gave you a really good effort.
Georgiev has been the only consistent member of the Avalanche in the playoffs. He's been incredible. And the goal, it was a bad screen by Byram. Like, he was screened out of the way. What can you do? It's the same thing that they're getting onto Vasilevsky about in their series, about seeing through the screens in Toronto. It's the same thing that beat Georgiev. And yeah, it went by, but what are you going to do? It doesn't help when you're not putting up anything on the board. You had an empty first period. You could have done something in that first period, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And he's been absolutely incredible with everything going wrong in front of him. And Seattle is doing everything right, and you can't beat right with wrong. And until the Avs figure that out, Georgiev is going to be the only shining star for the Avs.
Yeah. So, again, you give them credit, you give up that goal, but they come right back and tie it. Like a minute and change later, they come back and tie it. So it's just that up and down of hockey. Like, you feel good, and then when Seattle gets that one after the McKinnon, you just feel like every goal is a mountain to climb.
Yep.
And what do you got to do? Like, what are you expecting for Game 6? Sure, you get Cale Makar back. How much of a difference does that make? And can the Avalanche send this thing back to Denver for Game 7?
You know what? I'm glad their back is against the wall. Hasn't happened, like you mentioned at the top of the show. Hasn't happened in a while. Like, there is zero reason. There wasn't any in Game 5, and there absolutely is zero reason in Game 6 for you to have anything left in the tank. You have to get it out. You have to contribute. You have to play. You have to put, if you don't, you're going home, and then the new team in the playoffs just knocked out the defending Stanley Cup champions, and you got to think about that all off season. So there is no reason to be reserved.
And going on the road can sometimes be where you should be instead of being at home. And because there's a lot of pressure playing at home, right? So all the pressure right now is on Seattle.
Yeah.
They have to close this thing out. And you remember that road trip the Avs had, their Canadian road trip? It was 3 games in Canada and Detroit.
Yeah.
And they won all 4 of those games. And heading into that, they were playing well, but I'm not saying that was a turning point of the season because it was a little bit later in the season, but that was kind of where they were like, man, like we're really gelling right here. And I think a lot of that was because it was on the road.
Yep.
So I know there's a lot of people who feel like I play better on the road, and I look forward to games on the road because I don't have the home crowd like pressure. So but that's the game within the game, right? As far as what goes on the ice, the Avs just clearly have to play better. They have to. And my concern is, do they have the players to do that? Yes and no. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course, when you have guys like Makar and Rantanen and McKinnon, like, you're always going to have that. The question now is, can they rise above what Seattle is doing to you? Like you said, man, they have to empty the tank. They have to right now.
And they did it before in Seattle already in this playoff series.
Mm-hmm. So
they've proven they could do it.
They've been better on the road this year than at home.
I know.
Really
and you hope, but then you also have that fear that they get too cerebral and understand that they have to do this, like their backs against the wall, and they get back in their head and really kind of clam up, and that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. For if they're gonna pick a game where they jump out in front, now is the time. If you let Seattle again get goal number 1 in Seattle, it's just like, okay, I've read this book before.
Yep.
So we'll see. Last bit of info to get to for us, that of course is our Locked On Avalanche sound check. And Kyle and I picked 2 songs that we feel best summarize the most recent game. And these songs go up on a playlist over on Spotify. Just search LOA sound check. This is volume number 2. So what do you got for this one, sir?
It's a chill vibe, wonderful group. 311, beautiful disaster.
You did 311 not that long ago.
I love 311.
Yeah. I do know this one, but I don't listen to a lot of 311 because they're not my favorite, but I do know this one. So, yeah. And it's perfect.
That's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm going with Muse. Time is running out.
Yeah,
it is. This is we'll see what you're made of right now.
And according to a large contingency of Avs fans, it's already over because I've already seen.
Next year is over already.
Yeah. I've seen the roster moves we need to make. This was fun. I was like, wow, we do understand the series type format.
Yeah. I will say this though, and I'm not getting too far ahead of myself because this will I think this will get talked about whether or not the Avs lose this series or if the Avs win the Stanley Cup. This is going to be a very different Avalanche team next year. Very different, because there's a lot of contracts expiring, and I don't think they're going to be able to bring a lot of these guys back. So, I mean, a team looks different every year, right? But I think there's going to be a little bit of an overhaul for the Avs.
That's where if I was Bednar, I'd go into Seattle, go into my locker room, and I'd put up everybody that's a UFA next year and be like, I'm watching.
Could be your last game. Yeah. But that's off-season discussion. So, all right. Have to lick the wounds after this one. You got a day off. And then, I don't know. Are we watching the last game of the Avalanche on Friday? Let's hope not. It's not over. It's not over until it's over. That's why, last time I checked, Seattle's got 3 wins, not 4. Until they get 4, you're still in it. I know you probably don't feel good about it, but this is a championship team. So let's get behind them and maybe we can pull this thing out. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys later.